My brother thought we had a non-blood relationship of love, and it drove him to insanity. Despite verbally wishing me dead, he would sneak into my room every night, drawing paintings of us embracing each other while sleeping. I pretended not to notice, and my clothing became increasingly revealing. My brother's breathing also grew heavier. He worked on cars to earn money to put me through college, but I cut ties with him because my boyfriend disliked the smell of gasoline on me. Later, my brother established a car empire and became a billionaire. Upon learning news of my marriage to my boyfriend, he committed suicide due to a mental breakdown. Upon seeing his room filled with paintings of us embracing, I realized my brother had indescribable feelings for me. And I felt the same way towards him. It wasn't until I saw my brother, Eric, standing alive before me that I believed I had traveled back in time 10 years. At that moment, my brother was being wrongly accused of stealing money from home, and my stepfather was striking his head with an ashtray. I wanted to stop it, standing in front of my brother, but he pushed me down, and my head hit the edge of the table. Thinking I was trying to elicit sympathy again, my brother asked, "What kind of act are you trying this time?" He seemed to despise me. But I could still sense the anxiety in his eyes and tension in his forehead bruised. What about himself? His head wound was more serious, bleeding. It must have hurt a lot. My heart clenched, my eyes teared up, and I asked, "Brother, does it hurt?" My brother looked at me, furrowing his brow in confusion. However, as my stepfather's fist struck my brother's face, he no longer looked at me. He took a bank card out of his wallet and slammed it on the table, saying there were 30,000 yuan inside, enough for you and father to use for some time. Then, my brother left. After that, apart from the money deposited into the account every month, I never saw him again. Until 10 years later, when the media reported his suicide. Now, I must stop all of this. Holding the bank card, I secretly followed my brother. He entered a car repair shop. Engaging in dirty and tiring work, sweat seeped into his wound without any care. I went to the pharmacy across the street, bought some medicine, and approached him. He saw me, but didn't give me a warm reception. "Why are you here again? What do you want?" he said coldly. "Here, take this money. I don't need it from you. I can earn my own money from now on," I replied. Looking cold and not wanting my money, he asked if I wanted his. I turned around. A sports car was parked at the entrance of the repair shop. Two people got out of the car, my university ex-boyfriend, Peter, and my former roommate, Mary. Mary warmly held me and said, "Peter, I told you Irene would be here." I was puzzled because I had never told my roommates that my brother worked there. "How did she know I would be there?" Mary complained. "Irene, where have you been? Do you realize Peter has been looking for you for a long time?" Peter, with an arrogant and condescending demeanor, said, "Irene, have you had enough fun yet? This is your last chance. If you don't come over here when I count to 3, you're finished." I couldn't understand why I had fallen for him, a man with such male chauvinism, lack of respect for women, and couldn't hold a candle to my brother. After Peter spoke, my brother's arm muscles tensed, his eyebrows furrowing tightly. However, he continued working, pretending not to know me. I realized he was afraid of losing face in front of my classmates. His stepfather's company went bankrupt, and after graduating from high school, he never went to school again, working odd jobs to put me through school. I had always complained about the smell of gasoline and the dirt that was hard to wash off of him. Worried about it transferring to my clothes, being smelled by Peter. This time, I took the initiative to approach him, held his hand, and said, "Brother, let me help you clean your wound first." He tried to pull his hand away, saying, "Don't touch me, I'm dirty." But he knew that I loved him, and as I grasped his hand tightly, it didn't feel dirty at all. Peter gritted his teeth. "Who is this?" "None of your business. Haven't we broken up already?" With those words, he dragged Mary over and left in the car, leaving me puzzled. My brother was a bit angry, chuckling self-mockingly, and said, "No more of your silly antics. Don't expect me to play along with your games." He thought I was using him to make Peter jealous. Quickly, I clarified, "Brother, I'm not acting. Do you believe me if I say that I don't like him at all?" Even I found it hard to believe. Ever since I met Peter when I was 16. I was inexplicably attracted to him and changed completely, skipping classes and getting into fights. This strained my relationship with my brother from inseparable to freezing point. Only when I woke up at night did I sense something was wrong. But after waking up, I completely forgot about it. It wasn't until after my brother's death that my consciousness was fully awakened. Seemingly uninterested in my explanation, my brother asked, "What does it matter to me whether you like him or not?" Annoyed by his indifference, I blurted out, "Why don't you care? Aren't you jealous?" His pupils suddenly contracted, avoiding my gaze, and walked stiffly towards the sink. Taking off his gloves, he washed his hands vigorously, finally splashing water on his face. The water dripped, wetting his forehead. Approaching him, I inquired, careful with the wound. "Stay back," he said, moving his hand to stop me. At that moment, a girl from the workshop came out, holding a first aid kit. I knew her name was Kathy, and she had introduced him to his current job. She was his classmate from junior high to high school, and later on, she had always been by his side. "Eric, let me help you with your wound," she offered, dressed in a long skirt, with a serene smile, resembling an unattainable moonlight from a novel. In her presence, I couldn't help but feel a bit inferior. As my brother reached out to take the first aid kit, I wasn't sure if my sudden arrival was appropriate. During the 10 years they had been together, did my brother ever develop any feelings for Kathy? Having regained his composure, my brother took out some bruise healing oil from the first aid kit and calmly said, "I'll buy another bottle for you later." Kathy lightly replied, "No need to be polite, let me help." He declined her offer with a gentle tone and turned to me, urging, "Come over and let me clean your wound." Stunned, I moved closer, and he scolded, "What are you standing around for? Don't you have ears?" Irritated but indulgent at the same time. In an instant, my eyes welled up. Nodding repeatedly, I hurried to his side, where he took a chair and sat me down next to him. I sat obediently as he applied the ointment. His broad and gentle hands lightly touched my forehead, warm and comforting. Sneaking a peek at him, I noticed he was staring back at me, and I shook my head, asking, "Is the pressure too much?" When he murmured in response, I ecstatically hugged his waist, exclaiming, "Great! Does this mean we've made up?" It took him a while, but he eventually grunted in agreement. Excited, I suggested, "Let me help you treat your wound later." He pushed me away, saying, "Fine, let go first." Only then did I remember Kathy was still there and quickly released him. Kathy, presumably unaware of our relationship, cautiously inquired, "Is she your girlfriend?" Interrupting her, my brother clarified, "No, she's not. She's my sister, by blood." Relieved, Kathy commented, "You two have such a good sibling relationship. Unlike my brother, who always teases me." Hearing that, I felt happy, affirming, "Yes. My brother has always been good to me." However, my brother stopped his actions, his expression turning cold, and said, "Irene, it's time for you to go back." It dawned on me that what concerned him the most was our relationship. He didn't know that I wasn't his stepfather's biological child and had no blood relation to him. He had always assumed that I was born to his mother and another woman after his mother's death. I knew I had to find a way to explain our relationship to him clearly. But before I had the chance, my brother had taken me outside the repair shop, instructing me not to disturb his work. Suppressing a laugh, I changed the subject. "Brother, father will be working the night shift tonight. What do you want to eat? I'll cook dinner for you when you come back home." "I'm not hungry," he responded bluntly. "Not hungry? So you will come back home then?" I shrugged, joking, "Okay then, I'll just cook for myself." Irritated, he walked into the workshop without looking back. After my brother's passing, I saw the paintings he had made. Only then did I realize that he would only dare to approach me when I was asleep. It was approaching 10 o'clock, and I lay in bed, struggling to keep my eyes open. My brother had not returned home yet. After a while, I heard the sound of keys unlocking the door. Subsequently, the sound of pencils scraping against paper followed. Intrigued, I kicked off the blanket, revealing a nightgown that left part of my thigh exposed. The sound of pencils on paper halted, leaving only heavy breathing. I turned over and extended my foot to the edge of the bed, making contact with my brother's leg, which was scalding hot. In an instant, the sensation disappeared. The blanket was draped back over me as my brother, still separated by the sheet, nudged my foot back onto the bed. A grin formed on my lips as I extended my arm, pulling him towards me. He fell onto my lap, his breath soft and close to my ear. Opening my eyes innocently, I asked, "Brother, what are you doing?" Moonlight seeped through the window, casting a faint glow. My brother didn't possess the typical youthful looks in vogue. His short hair, stern facial features, tan skin, and the slightly intimidating look he displayed when frowning was now replaced by wide-eyed confusion, cheeks flushed red. His demeanor seemed lost. Like an obedient puppy, I reached out to touch his earlobe, noting his slight shiver, and hastily pushed me away, letting the drawing paper flutter to the ground. Irene, I'm your brother, he protested. No, you're not, I replied. Barefooted, I approached the fallen paper. Titled, I was wearing a nightgown. Nestled in his arm, he embraced me. The atmosphere was enchanting. I held his hand. But you don't want to be my brother, do you? His fingers tightened, his lips opened and closed, his eyes were confused, not knowing how to explain to me. My brother's demeanor always inexplicably excited me, and a rush of pleasure surged. Unable to resist, I tiptoed and kissed him, breathed in his ear, brother, don't panic. He was really in a panic. Retreating to the corner, he held onto my waist, restrained and seemed to hesitate, then let go. Released. I held his hand, commanding him. His Adam's apple bobbed, eyes avoiding mine, wanting to escape. I smiled, brother, I also like you, very much. My brother was completely disoriented. His heart thumped, staring at my lips, ultimately surrendered. He fiercely embraced me, as if wanting to crush me. Thud, thud, thud. At this moment, a knock on the door sounded. My foster father called from outside the door, Irene, are you asleep? I bought your favorite roasted chicken, it's so fragrant. Upon hearing the voice, I immediately pushed my brother away, jumped onto the bed, and pulled the blanket over me. Without clarifying with my foster father, if he saw a scene like that, he would definitely break my brother's legs. After a long time, there was no sound outside the room. When I lifted the blanket, my brother had already climbed out of the window. The next morning, I woke up at 6 a.m, afraid that my brother had left early last night because of me. I knocked on his door, but there was no sound. I just decided to open it directly. The room was neatly arranged, probably he had already left. I climbed onto the bed, picked up a few strands of hair from the pillow, and put them in a sealed bag. What was my brother doing on my bed? My brother stood at the door with a bag of breakfast. At that moment, I was awkwardly lying on his bed, smelling his pillow like a weirdo. I coughed and boldly, with a smile, said to him, brother, your pillow smells so good, just like you. My brother's face blushed in an instant, but he still acted as if nothing had happened, dragged me out, looking indifferent, come out for breakfast. Don't try to fool me. I pulled away from his grip, trying to pry more from him, brother, did you just come back this morning? He murmured in agreement, unwrapping a sandwich package and handing it to me. I recognized the sandwich from this place at a high price, more than 10 kilometers away from home. Yet, my brother still went early to get it just because I loved to eat it. However, the fact was that I only pretended to like it in the past to please Peter. I didn't take it, I don't like it. My brother sighed, thinking that I was being unreasonable again. Eat it when you have an appetite later. Remember to eat. He put down the sandwich and took out some steamed buns he bought downstairs. Starting to eat, I sat next to him, propping my chin and staring at him intently. Continuing to pry, I said, brother, did you forget that you were not wearing this outfit yesterday? He remained poker-faced. There are clothes in the workshop. I rolled my eyes, snatched the bun from his hand and shoved it in my mouth. I prefer the buns downstairs. He frowned. Irene, that was the one I ate. Is it dirty? It doesn't matter. I chewed a few times and said nonchalantly, anyway, you kissed me last night. My brother suddenly stood up, causing the soy milk on the table to spill on his pants. I handed him some tissues to wipe it off. He glanced down at me, grabbed my hand, a hint of red spreading in the corner of his eyes, trembling all over. What did you say? Forgetting that my brother had a mental illness, I quickly added, in the dream. He let out a sigh of relief, calmed down, released my hand. Don't make such jokes in the future. I obediently nodded. He rubbed my wrist. Does it hurt? What? Suddenly, my foster father stood in front of us, glaring at my brother. Are you bullying my daughter again? My brother released me as if nothing had happened, put on his coat. I'm going to work now. I pulled him back, pleading, brother, don't leave yet, I have something to say. He shook me off, but still sat down. The conflicts between this father and son were mostly caused by me, so I had to solve it. Dad, come and sit here too. Reluctantly, my foster father sat opposite to my brother. I took out the bank card and 1,000 yuan and placed them on the table. Dad, this time, including the money I stole from home before, it was all me, I am sorry. My foster father was stunned for a moment and still didn't believe it, continuing to scold my brother. Irene, did this kid threaten you again? Tell Dad, Dad will teach him a lesson for you. I shook my head, no. It had always been me deliberately framing my brother, making him take the blame for me. My foster father smiled awkwardly and pushed the money back to me. It's okay. Girls need money for many things, take some money, it's okay. Dad will work hard in the future, tell Dad what you want to buy. My brother sneered on the side, with your salary, you can't even buy her a bag. You're off base. My foster father got angry, you little brat. Say it again, I quickly pacified them, Dad, from now on, I will earn money to support myself, and I won't spend money recklessly anymore. I handed the 1,000 yuan to my foster father, pushed the card to him, brother, you take this money, I don't need it. My brother's face darkened, I'm not that poor yet. I grabbed his hand, use this money for studying. My brother gave up his studies to support me in going to university. Although he later became a billionaire entrepreneur, he faced many taunts and hardships due to his lack of education. I hoped that in this life, his life path would be smoother. Without waiting for his refusal, I carried a pile of study materials I bought yesterday from the room and put them in front of him. Brother, from now on, let me earn money to support your studying in university. You will study in the room now, and after I finish classes, I will come back to check, no slacking off. My foster father snorted, with his grades, studying in college is worse than baking pizza. I sternly said, Dad, shut up. He glanced at my brother disapprovingly and muttered, unwilling. My brother picked up the half-eaten bun that I had nibbled from the table, cheek bulging, and a faint smile at the corner of his lips. After leaving, my first action was to take a taxi to the hospital to do a paternity test. The results would be out in 5 working days. I had to return to school first. After finishing class, I found a part-time job at a coffee shop near the school. Because I was busy, I didn't go home at night, I stayed in the dormitory. I sent several messages to update my brother, but he didn't reply, so I had no choice but to give up. It wasn't until the next afternoon that my foster father sent me 2 pictures. It was a completed English exam paper by my brother. A 150-point paper, but he scored 32 points. My foster father sent a video mocking my brother, I told you so, he scored worse than baking pizza. Even blindfolded, I could score more than him. In the video, my brother sat at the table, tightly gripping the pen, glanced at the camera, then lowered his head, looking helpless and defeated. I instantly felt sorry for him and called him to bring the test paper to school so I could help explain it to him. After a long time, my brother finally spoke, his voice somewhat suppressed, Are you back together with Peter again? I was taken aback. Only then did I notice that Peter and Mary were sitting in front of me. The 2 of them were whispering, and even took the opportunity to mock me. Irene, the other day you brought a repairman to enrage me, but I'm not that easily provoked by you. The sound was transmitted through the phone to my brother. The call was hung up. I furrowed my brows, looking at the 2 people in front of me, feeling unlucky. Peter, being arrogant, pulled Mary, who was beside him, into his arms. Jealous now? It's not over yet. As he said that, he held the back of her head and publicly kissed her forcefully. Mary resisted and pounded his chest. Peter, this isn't the place, there are people watching. Peter glanced at me and smirked, let them watch. I and a few classmates from behind furrowed our brows, picked up our bags, and sat in the front row together. After class, Mary stopped me, looking ashamed. Irene, don't misunderstand, Peter and I are just good friends. I calmly said, you can do whatever you want with Peter, it's none of my business. Mary looked shocked, aren't you jealous? What's wrong with you? I was about to leave when Mary scolded me, why aren't you jealous of me? Of what? I retorted. Mary realized her outburst and grabbed my arm, affectionately asking, Have you reconciled with your brother? My brother? I never mentioned anything about my family at the dormitory, you know a lot. I turned away from her, You're not Mary, who are you? Mary paused, Have you become self-aware? It can't be, unless you also traveled through time. It was her. She controlled my consciousness. I grabbed her wrist, determined to expose her true identity this time. I won't let you succeed. She pulled her hand away, smirked with malice, You are just a character I created, you don't think crossing over will change the ending of your brother's suicide, do you? Whether he lives or dies is just a matter of a line I casually wrote. I was created by her. So, we are in a novel right now. And Eric, Peter, I and Peter are the main characters in a novel, no wonder I was inexplicably attracted to him. Then what about my brother? She, as the author, could arbitrarily determine my brother's life and death? I didn't believe her nonsense and relaxed my clenched fist. If what you said is true, that a line of yours can rewrite our fate, why don't you make Peter fall in love with you? Instead, he still can't get over me. Mary became furious. I had guessed correctly. Mary, as the author, is now just a character in the book. She couldn't control me, she could only watch helplessly as I diverged from the plot she had designed, as she licked Peter, her character in the book. She was getting anxious. Even though she said so, I still felt uneasy. I quickly dialed my brother's phone number. Ring, 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 no answer. My feet were cold, and fear surged to my heart. I grabbed my bag and ran out of the classroom. As I turned the corner on the first floor, a familiar voice called out to me. Irene, turn around. The voice was soft, but I heard it clearly. I stopped in my tracks and looked at the familiar figure of my brother. I rushed over to hug him, unable to speak, just crying and holding on to him tightly. My brother was taken aback, not knowing where to put his hands. Hanging by his sides. Going through a breakup? He asked. I let go of him, sniffing, no. My brother didn't say anything, just nodded, his expression somewhat disappointed. I muttered, it's because of you. What? Because I was afraid you would misunderstand my relationship with Peter, and once again abandon me. My brother's eyelashes trembled slightly as he wiped the tears from the corner of my eyes, chuckled softly, again? Didn't you always reject me, leaving me behind? Shaking my head, I looked at him seriously. No, from now on, we will always be together, never apart. He shook his head in disbelief. What do you mean? I lowered my head, feeling a bit shy. It's just what you're thinking, the kind of relationship between a boyfriend and girlfriend. He was taken aback. Don't joke. I interrupted him. I know what you're about to say, but you're not my real brother. Why can't we be together then? My brother was angry. Irene. I also lost my temper. I'm not joking. Your dad was cuckolded by my mom. We're not really siblings. You won't believe me? Go ask him. People around us were gossiping. So my brother finally reacted and coughed lightly, raising his hand to signal me to follow him into an empty classroom. This story may sound absurd, but it's true. When my birth mother was in college, she unexpectedly got pregnant by a gangster. Being a Buddhist, she didn't want to terminate the pregnancy, but also worried about how having me would affect her future. So, the two of them came up with a plan to deceive my adoptive father and make him think that I was his own biological daughter. It wasn't until 3 years ago, when my adoptive father's company went bankrupt, that he discovered the truth. Instead of blaming my birth mother, he decided to let us live happily abroad, away from him. However, I didn't want to leave. I stayed with my brother and tried to hide the fact that I came from a different world. Soon after, I realized I had developed feelings for him. Before I could tell him, I met Peter and got entangled in the story, causing our relationship to deteriorate. To prevent my brother from worrying, I kept the truth about being controlled by the storyline hidden, only telling him about my origins. After listening to my story, my brother's expression was not as joyful as I had hoped. He simply said, "So what?" I thought he was being negative again, speaking against his heart. I laughed and said, "Brother, I'm serious." He had no expression on his face, and I was also serious. I walked out, leaving him behind. Outside the coffee shop, Peter was still lingering around. "What were you two doing in the classroom just now? You're not really with that mechanic, are you?" I shooed him away. "Yes, so please refrain from disturbing my life any longer." "Get lost, how can a mere mechanic compare to me? I can't stand it when someone speaks ill of my brother." I grabbed the mop by the shop entrance door and pointed it at him. "My boyfriend fixes cars to support my studies. He's better in every way. Taller than you. Handsomer than you. I just love him to no end." Peter, covered in dirt, looked defeated and left. I clapped my hands and turned to enter the shop, only to see my brother holding the 32-point test paper not far away, staring at me blankly. I didn't want to talk to him and didn't initiate any conversation. My brother approached me, took the mop from my hand, and then handed me the test paper. "Weren't we going to discuss the questions?" I snorted. I changed my mind. He lowered his gaze, his long lashes trembling slightly, but I only got 32 points. I held back a laugh, took the test paper, and scolded him. "Didn't you improve to a perfect score of 100 before? How did it drop so much?" He whispered softly, "Without your help, that's why it went down." It was his way of apologizing. I wasn't that easily swayed and mimicked his earlier tone. So what? Tears welled up in my brother's eyes, his voice hoarse. I don't know what's come over me, suddenly changing like that, inexplicably getting angry, not trusting you. I remembered Mary's words. Storyline? Again with the storyline. My brother had also fallen into the storyline. According to the original plotline, he would have been disappointed in me and unwilling to trust me again after being played by me time and time again. If I couldn't change my brother's fate, no, everything has been positive since I crossed over here just 2 days ago. Only this one accident has happened. I hugged my brother and said seriously, brother, no matter what happens from now on, you must trust me. Okay? My brother placed his hand on my shoulder. Okay. The misunderstanding was resolved. Looking at the 32-point paper, my head was spinning. Both my brother and I were specialists in certain subjects, he in English, and I in physics. When our relationship was good before, we used to help each other, and he wouldn't have done so poorly on the test. Moreover, his previous life saw him establishing a car company overseas, and I had seen a video clip of him being interviewed entirely in English. How come now? I found it hard to believe. Scrutinizing him, I asked, brother, are you intentionally making mistakes in the test? Looking confused, he pointed to a question. Why is the answer here? Explain it to me again, I forgot. Seeming genuine, I had to repeat it again. Since it was almost time for me to leave, I couldn't stick around. If you don't understand any questions, I'll explain them to you tomorrow. My brother grabbed my arm. What time do you finish work? 9:30, I'll wait for you. No need, it's too troublesome. Before I could finish, he grabbed my school bag like he used to, hanging it on his right shoulder. Then, his tone turned very ambiguous. Do we not have time tonight? Eyes widened in disbelief. I said, brother, you've changed. My brother sighed. You're being too restless, rest early, I'll study in the living room. With no opportunity to discuss the questions, he walked away. I was left bewildered. Is that it? The next morning, my brother and I were reluctant to part at the entrance. I suggested, I went to the hospital the day before to do a DNA test. Let's wait for the results to come out, and then we can tell Dad the truth, okay? My brother felt a bit embarrassed as he put my school bag on my back and bent down to adjust the straps for me. He simply responded with a soft seeing him wearing an apron, looking like a cute little homemaker waiting for me to come home for dinner. I felt like standing on tiptoes to steal a kiss from him. At this time, the doorknob was pressed down, and my foster father's booming voice came through. Irene, Dad bought your favorite roasted chicken, smells so good. When I heard you were coming home last night, Dad called the roasted chicken shop owner early in the morning to have it ready for you. Just out of the oven, I felt like crying but had no tears left. I shouted, Dad, who eats roasted chicken so early in the morning? My foster father, puzzled, replied, it's okay, you can take it to school and have it for lunch. It's freshly roasted. I rolled my eyes at my brother, who was trying hard not to laugh, stomped my foot, and ran downstairs. My foster father rubbed his nose and looked at his son, his loud voice echoing through the hallway. Are you bullying my daughter again? Back at school, Mary was still not giving up. She threatened me. I warn you, don't have too many expectations for your brother. If one day you lose control of the situation again and play with his feelings, it might drive him crazier and lead to a quicker death. As the main character created by her, the ending for me was not a happy one. On the eve of my wedding to Peter, he cheated on me and fell in love with a female university student who looked very much like me. Following the plot, I would go mad, constantly causing scenes, eventually getting cancer and dying at a young age. Peter would then start to remember my goodness after I died, blaming himself, but still living happily ever after. But Mary didn't expect that my brother's death would awaken me, and I would travel back 10 years. I didn't understand why Mary created me in such a manner, perhaps just venting her dissatisfaction in the book. But for me, the world she created was real. My brother, my foster father, they were all living people. I couldn't be disheartened by just a few words from her. I smiled. Since you love Peter so much, why don't you be that cancer-stricken woman who dies early in that world? Mary was furious, but couldn't do anything about it. She shouted behind me, just you wait, one day, you'll disappear. I paid no attention. But not 2 days later, Mary's words were proven right. I disappeared. That day, my brother and I went to the hospital to get the paternity test results. He was called by the auto repair shop owner for an urgent matter. I found out that the day before, he noticed a burn on my hand and rushed to work secretly. When I went to the auto repair shop with the paternity test results to find him, I saw a completely changed version of him. His eyes filled with resentment and hatred towards me. The reason being, Peter's car had been tampered with at the repair shop by my brother, causing a car accident in which he ended up in the hospital. Mary pretended to be pitiful. Irene, I didn't expect you to hate your brother so much, to the point of not caring about Peter's life and still seeking revenge. But you went too far. If something had happened to Peter, your brother would have ended up in jail. I wanted to slap her face. Is it just that you hate so much? That you can't see me happy? Yes, I just don't want you to have it easy. Do you know the kind of life I lived in that world? A woman with the same name as you is always better than me. Why do people I like always like her? Why is her life and work so much better than mine? All I did was go camping on the mountain and got struck by lightning, but luckily, fate gave me a chance to go back to the novel I wrote, to regain control of my life. So, I'm sorry, it was the unfortunate character named Irene in my book who caused all your bad luck. Mary laughed innocently, waving at me, and said, "Ah, what a poor little thing you are. You are really like a crazy person." I wanted to tell my brother the truth, but suddenly, I lost control of my consciousness. I told my brother, "Eric, you are still so naive, easily fooled like a dog, wagging your tail and licking over here." From then on, I was controlled by the plot, revolving around Peter. As for my brother, due to lack of evidence in the car accident and Peter's minor injuries, it was swept under the rug. When I regained consciousness, almost 10 years had passed. My brother and Kathy had started a company together. The media praised them, calling them a perfect match, the fictional characters brought to life. As for Mary, she was tied up by me, realizing my odd behavior. You're back? For the past 10 years, Mary had clung to me like gum, reveling in my misery. Whenever I failed, she was happy. Whenever I was sad, she laughed. Today, I grabbed her hair and slapped her, telling her, "Just wait. I will settle the score with you one by one." Mary laughed like a crazy woman. "It's too late. Don't forget, your brother committed suicide early this morning. If you hurry, you might even be able to touch his still warm body." It's a pity. I suppressed the urge to kill her, dialed the phone number I hadn't touched for 10 years. After a long wait, a familiar voice came through. "Irene, is that you?" Mary heard and collapsed, thinking, how is this possible? After taping Mary's mouth shut, I went to my brother's company. I reported my name at the front desk, and surprisingly, there was no hindrance. But as the elevator reached the 12th floor, a car stopped at the building's entrance. 2 people walked down from it in the rain. It was my brother and Kathy. They shared an umbrella, my brother leaning it towards Kathy. I sat uneasy in the waiting room, drinking cup after cup of tea, until I heard footsteps outside. I raised my head slowly. My brother had changed a lot. His complexion had whitened, he had grown his hair, styled flawlessly, with a touch of gray around his temples. He wore gold-rimmed glasses, a well-tailored suit perfectly fitting his figure. He seemed like a refined scumbag. And his gaze, like a long-suppressed beast, ready to devour me. He must have resented me greatly. Would he believe what I had to say? As I approached him and called him softly, "Brother," he cut me off. "Out." He repeated, his voice cold and distant. His naturally fierce appearance, now suddenly roaring at me, brought tears to my eyes. But I couldn't move, rooted in place. His male assistant standing nearby dared not breathe, listening to my brother's stern tone, asking me to leave for conducting business. "Miss Liu, given that you're Mr. Liu's sister, I'll give you 3 seconds. Otherwise, I'll call security." My brother stared at the male assistant, and then the assistant quickly left. Amidst the tension, the assistant nervously joked, "Looks like I need to go to the orthopedic department." My brother, irritated, retorted, "Seems like you need to go to the hospital." The assistant, shaken, pointed at himself in shock. "Me?" My brother's impatience showed as he told the assistant, "Didn't you hear? Get out, fast." "To you too." The assistant turned pale and quickly moved to close the door. Not realizing what was happening, I found myself pinned against the wall by my brother. He embraced me, burying his head in my shoulder. "Irene, if you don't come back, I won't be able to carry on." That day, I was wrong. It was my fault for not controlling myself and making you leave. Hearing those words, it felt like a knife through my heart. My brother always thought I was mad at him and angry with him. I told him about Mary, the plot events, and he had already guessed. "I knew it wasn't you, that's why I've been waiting for you to come back." My brother, afraid that I might disappear again, held me tightly, making it hard for me to breathe. I pushed him away, seeing him cry so desperately, mist forming in his glasses. I couldn't help but chuckle, removing his glasses, wiping away his tears with my fingers. Feeling it wasn't enough, I stood on tiptoe and planted a kiss on the corner of his lips. My brother blushed deeply. Irene, can you please be more reserved? I laughed. Don't you want it? He looked away. Not now. Why? Thinking back to the scene with Kathy in the rain, was it because of her? Just then, we heard footsteps outside. My brother blocked my view and opened the door. Two eavesdroppers rushed forward. One was his male assistant, and the other was Kathy. The male assistant, sprawled on the ground, seemed to have heard a shocking secret, his eyes darting between me and my brother. Are you two engaged in an incestuous relationship? My brother detested when others mentioned us being siblings, and now the assistant, speaking out of turn, had gone too far. My brother's face darkened instantly. Seeing this, the assistant quickly tried to explain, flustered, looks like I need orthopedic treatment. My brother glared and responded sharply, I think you need to get medical attention. But my attention was on Kathy and the ring on her finger. Kathy noticed my watchful gaze and, pausing their little scandal, smiled gently, taking my arm and leading me away, closing the door to muffle the assistant's shrieks. She explained calmly, don't listen to the marketing hype and rumors. Yes, I used to like him, but that was 10 years ago when he clearly rejected me. I am now married to someone I love, and he and I are just business partners. Besides that, there is no other connection between us. Oh, and he just gave me an umbrella. It was just a matter of chivalry. He would do the same for any woman. Feeling embarrassed, I listened and Kathy assured me, don't be embarrassed. Your brother is such a good person, it's important to keep an eye out. Unmarried female colleagues in the company are constantly thinking of him. But his eyes only see you. Although I don't know what happened between you two, I hope you both are well. Before I could chat more with Kathy, my brother pulled me away to go to the hospital for the paternity test. I joked, are you worried about this? Don't worry, I've checked, we have no blood relation. Still not at ease, he insisted, we should go. Teasingly, I said, what if we were actually siblings? He looked at me seriously, so what? I raised an eyebrow, leaving his response unanswered, and suggested, shall we go to the hospital anyway? Hospital? The male assistant, who appeared out of nowhere, limped over to us and said, Boss, I'm perfectly fine, you don't need to take me to the hospital. I chuckled, the male assistant was really a character, and I gave him a thumbs up. The assistant waved his hand and said, Boss, don't be polite. As he tried to move to the passenger seat. My brother glared at the male assistant, burning with anger, wondering who brought him in. The assistant replied nonchalantly, Boss, don't you remember, it was you, on the way from the company to the hospital, a red car kept chasing us closely. It was Mary. I had no idea how she managed to escape. She was really crazy, trying to use this stupid method to deal with me. When her attempt to hit us with the car failed. She then took a knife and rushed towards me while I was in the bathroom alone. I had anticipated this, so I had informed the police to be deployed around me in advance. However, it was not needed as the assistant, who had just gone crazy alongside me in the same car, rushed into the bathroom with a cane and pushed Mary into the toilet. She gurgled and pleaded for help, Irene. Why aren't you coming to save me? The assistant slapped her to silence her cries. Don't you dare scream in front of me. After my brother checked me for injuries and relaxed, he realized that the assistant was still somewhat useful. Because Mary's case of attempted murder was not severe, she would be released before long. With a dark look in my eyes and a sly smile, I decided to have her examined and sent to a mental hospital since she had gone mad. And so, Mary was diagnosed with a mental illness and was confined to a mental hospital, where I even hired 5 caregivers to look after her. Seeing the appraisal results, my brother finally relaxed. But when he went to confess to our foster father with gifts in hand, he hesitated in front of our house, making it truly look like he was meeting his father-in-law. He asked me, will Dad approve? I smiled and asked, are you scared? He replied without hesitation, yes, I am. Surprisingly candid. After a moment of contemplation, I said, bro, did you bring your ID? He asked, why? I replied, to book a room. I grabbed his hand and said, it would be better to make things clear. My brother shrugged off my grip, a bit shy, and hesitated, no, I am a very traditional man. I teased him, since when do good men sneak into their sister's room late at night? You're not my sister. Yes, I am. No, you're not. I raised his chin, teasingly asking, "Then what am I to you?" He blushed, leaned close to my ear, and whispered, "Wife." Just as we were lost in a sweet moment, a roasted chicken leg flew over my head and hit my brother's face. "What wife? Who is your wife?" I turned my head, just to see our foster father, panting and glaring angrily at my brother from the hallway. I felt like my brother was in trouble. At the dining table, after my brother was lectured, I had to flatter our foster father, saying, "Dad, you are the best father in the world, please." I continued, "Dad, look how great my brother is, handsome, wealthy, and we have deep family ties. You really can't go wrong with us." Our foster father covered his ears, so I had to bring out my trump card. "If you don't agree, I will marry Peter." "You dare!" our foster father and brother exclaimed in unison. This time they heard me. Peter had come to ask for reconciliation, but got scared off with 2 punches from our foster father. Our foster father never liked him, afraid that I might really consider him, so he just snorted in disdain and remained silent, which we took as consent. At night, our foster father made my brother swear that he would not sleep unless he got married. My brother solemnly swore. An hour later, he climbed into my room through the balcony. In the deep night, stars slipped into the soft cloud layer, stirring up the clouds with a sighing breeze as light rain began to fall. Outside the balcony, by the water puddle, a stray cat curled its tongue with a sweet taste on its lips.